إذا سمحتوا سنبدأ هذه الجلسة الثانية من خلينا نسميه كما ظهر بالجلسة السابقة الحوار العربي الصيني، لأنه واضح أنه في ضرورة للحوار، بدالي أن في بعض سوء التفاهم وأن هناك يعني ضرورة لإيجاد حوار سببه على الأغلب أنه في شعور بين كتلتين كبار للصين، دولة كبرى طبعا، والعالم العربي مجموعة كتلة كبيرة أيضا من الشعوب والدول، يمكن يعني سيكون لها دور سلبي أو إيجابي في السياسات الدولية. ومن المفيد، وهذا هو هدف الحوار، أنه نفهم بعض ونزيل إذا في نقاط خلاف أو موضوعات خلاف، نحاول أنه نزيلها إذا في إمكانية. بمعنى ما الهدف من هذا اللقاء كما أتصور هو تحسين العلاقات بين العرب ككل وبين الصينيين، وليس محاسبة أي طرف للطرف الآخر. نحن هنا في إطار تنمية علاقات عميقة ومعمقة ونقاش جدي بين العرب والصينيين، وخلق شبكة علاقات مع الباحثين. بعتقد أنه هاي الأهمية الرئيسية لهذا الاجتماع، علاقات دائمة وعلاقات مبنية على الثقة والتفاهم بين الباحثين العرب والباحثين الصينيين. وشيء مهم، وأنا سعيد أنه يكون هذا أول مؤتمر عربي صيني على المستوى الأكاديمي، هذا أول مرة بيحصل هالشيء. حنتحدث اليوم في موضوعين العرب اليوم، والباحثين يعني بيصيروا حول النقاط وبيسألوا عنهم مواقف الدول، بيصيروا عنهم نقاط رئيسية وبيسألوا مواقف الدول. هندي قضية فلسطين اللي ما زالت مستمرة منذ يعني أكثر من نصف قرن طبعا، واليوم مشكلة الجديدة اللي نشأت اللي هي مشكلة الانتفاضات أو ثورات الربيع العربي، والمصير اللي قالت له بجزء كبير منه بسبب مواقف دول كثيرة، وخاصة دول عضوة في مجلس الأمن، وعضويتها سمحت لأنه تلعب دور كبير في تقرير حد أدنى في تقرير جزء من السياسات الإقليمية. ستدور هذه الجلسة حول موقف الصين من الثورات العربية، وسنسمع مداخلات من ليانغ شيانغ عن السياسة الصينية تجاه العالم العربي في سياق إقليمي متغير، ومداخلة أخرى من جنيفر شانغ عن السياسة الصينية إزاء الصراع في سوريا. وهذا أنا يمكن حأسمح لنفسي بآخر الأبحاث أنه كمان أتحدث فيه، لأنه عندي تجربة مباشرة كرئيس للمجلس الوطني، كنت في الصين وشفت وزير الخارجية، ويمكن في فائدة من أن نذكر بموضوع النقاش اللي دار بيننا وشو كانت النتائج حتى الآن. والمداخلة الثالثة هي وانغ عن العلاقات الصينية الليبية في حقبة ما بعد الجماهيرية وسياسة استكشاف الأسواق الخارجية. هأعطي الكلام ربع ساعة لكل متحدث، ونبدأ ليانغ شيانغ عن السياسة الصينية في سياق متغير في العالم العربي، في سياق متغير. فتفضل.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my thanks also goes to ACPRS. Thanks for your invitation and hospitality. I liked the city of Doha very much. And do you know what does Doha means in Chinese when we translated it? Some people who speak Chinese might know Doha in Chinese, it means everybody is laughing. Thank you. Okay, that is just my topic is about China's policy toward the Middle East in the changing regional dynamics. I would like to deliver 3 main points. The first one is my point of view about some wrong arguments about China's role in the Middle East. Secondly, I would like to say categorize China's policy towards China's role in the Middle East. Thirdly, look into the future of China-Arab relations or China's policy toward the Arab world, particularly after President Xi Jinping's visit to the Middle East in January. The first, my point of view is about the argument about China's role in the Middle East. There are actually two kinds of arguments about China's policy, China's role in the Middle East. The first one is the free rider thesis arguments. That is typically raised by President Barack Obama in 2014. I think it should be August. The second one is China argues that China is just a mere business seeker. I don't agree with the two kinds of arguments. The first one is China is a free rider. I think this statement is based on several wrong pre-assumptions. First one, it presumes that the United States and the West at large is a provider of security public goods in the Middle East. But I don't think this is right. In the last decade, the United States is not a provider of security public goods in the Middle East. Actually, the United States might be a provider of public disaster in the Middle East. Secondly, it argues that China is a beneficiary of Americans' military actions and presence in the Middle East. I don't think that China is a beneficiary. Instead, China is a victim. And China has a lot of economic and business interests in the Middle East. But actually, the situation is terrible, partly or largely because of Americans' military intervention and the military presence. Thirdly, it presumes that China is just a consumer of the security public goods. But actually, China is also a contributor of security public goods. China's military presence, though modest, Sun Degang argues it as a soft military presence. But I think all these China's military missions in the Middle East are under the UN framework. So I think that is purely security public goods. And in the Arab world, there is often an argument China is a mere business seeker. It is true that we have a lot of good business relations, but I don't think China is a mere business seeker. We have a lot of relations, shared political interests. We support each other in many political areas. And this kind of arguments actually, in some way, also reflected Arab countries' disappointment about China's policy in the region. Some of the disappointment, for instance, disappointment about China's more engagement with the Middle East politically and militarily. But though this kind of argument have some similarity with the security, the free rider argument, but I would also say there is also some difference. Arab countries, by saying that, actually feel frustrated that China is not willing to play a counterweight role, counterbalance against the United States in the Middle East, particularly after the year 2003, during President Bush's presidency. Bush wants to top down all the governments in the Middle East one by one. The Arab countries particularly hope that China can be a counterweight. I think this kind of, all these arguments actually reflected their aspirations or expectations of China's policy, but not solidly based on the grounds. To say China is a free rider, I think the United States actually defines the provider of security, public goods, or public goods. They just define the military intervention or military presence in the Middle East as a kind of security, public goods, or public goods. But actually, I think public goods means a lot, not only military, but also economically and politically. I would like to categorize China's role in the Middle East with 3 words. The first one is economic contributor. Secondly, provider of public security, public goods. Thirdly, low-profile mediator. The first one is China is a contributor economically. Economically, China is a contributor. I think China contributed a lot to the Middle East economy, particularly in Gulf countries. For instance, during the financial crisis since 2008, if China does not stay stable demand for oil, I think the economy of the Gulf countries might be in much more difficult situation. And also China's economic contributions also contributed to the welfare of Arab countries. So far as I know, there is Shanghai Electrical in Baghdad, near Baghdad, there is the plant. The plant produces electricity, 70% of that the city of Baghdad needs. Suppose if without the supply of electricity in Baghdad, I think the situation in Baghdad might be even worse. And also in Libya, Huawei, even after the evacuation, even because of the evacuation, Huawei still stayed in Libya. And they contributed to the minimal need of the telecommunication of the country. I think that is good for regional welfare. And a lot of such examples like that. And China is also a low-profile mediator. I would like to say low profile. But many people question why China always keep a low profile. I should say there are 2 reasons. The first one is keeping low profile is part of Chinese political culture. Just like Deng Xiaoping, our leader said that keep a low profile, something like that. There are a lot of things like that. That is part of a political culture. But also, I think China conduct its policy in the Middle East under the framework of the major country, new type of major country relations, which is firstly defined as a non-confrontation. By that, I think China do not want to have its policy to be interpreted as aggressive, as a challenge to the United States. It is very difficult to please the United States, I should say. On the one hand, if you do not join them, they will say you are a free rider. But on the other hand, if you invest more, they will say you are very aggressive. You are very aggressive. You are a challenger. Okay? It's very difficult to please the United States. And we did do a lot of mediator. We have since 2002 we have special envoys. Altogether we have 4. But we also have special envoys for for Sudan issues and the special envoy for Afghanistan issues. And now we have a special envoys for Syrian issue. And actually, I think they really work. They really works. This kind of mechanism does work. And our mediation in Sudan's case is very effective. But in Palestinian is real issues. I'm very sorry to say, not that effective. Our mediation in the Iranian nuclear issue, but many Arab countries might not be happy with that deal. But we believe that deal should be good for regional peace. Since without negotiation, without diplomatic solution, the situation could become worse. It is our belief. And we also provided technical support for Iran nuclear issue. For the modification of the Iraq reactor. Yeah, we are providing assistance to get Iraq can produce a lot of plutonium, but after that modification, it will be produce very, very little plutonium. That is China is supporting that. We have a lot of mediating efforts. Our special envoys is also mediating between different parties of Syrian issues, Syrian crisis. So China plays a low-profile mediator. China is also a provider of security public goods, but I'm talking about the peacekeeping missions in Lebanon, in Sudan, and in other cases. And also we have battleships patrolling the Gulf of Aden. I should say that all these military missions are under UN framework. We like to be under the UN framework. I'm not going to come to the detail of that, more of that. Everybody knows about that. And lastly, I would like to say the future of China's policy toward the Arab world. I would like to use the three words. The first word, beyond. The first, beyond energy. Second, beyond economic. And beyond geopolitics. To say it is beyond energy, actually, our relations, I think in the year 2005 or something like that, many people talk about China's relations from the dimension of energy. But even during that period of time, we also have strong relations in political affairs, in many other areas. But nowadays, our relations, economic relations, is actually beyond energy. Well, President Xi Jinping stated that talked about 1+2+3 pattern. 1 refers to energy. 2 refers to infrastructure cooperation, trade and investment facilitation. 3 means nuclear cooperation, nuclear technology, peace for nuclear technology cooperation, satellite cooperation, and the new energy cooperation. 1+2+3 pattern. That is, I think China's relations with economic relations is beyond energy. Secondly, China-Arab relations is beyond the economy. There should be a lot of political issues. I think in the future, but we used to have very strong political relations. We support each other to safeguard our sovereignty, to gain our independence. But in the future, I think a little bit different. China still needs Arab world support for its legitimacy to grow, to be a global leadership. And Arab countries should also need China to support for its legitimate request in international community. And China's, I think I support that we might have some actions like during President Xi Jinping's visit to the Middle East in January, he said that we are going to build China-Arab reform and development research center, something like that. And China also committed that we support to build new mechanisms for Middle East peace. And also a lot of something else. I think political relations will be strengthened. China will invest more effort in this regard. Also, beyond geopolitics, many people talk about whether China will fill in the vacuum, whether China will seek a proxy. President Xi Jinping actually delivered in his speech a very clear point that China will not seek proxy relations in the Middle East, but China would like to have a circle of friends in the Middle East. And that is, I think, beyond geopolitics. By that, I would also argue that China presumes that geopolitical competition in the Middle East actually is one of the sources of the Middle East conflicts. And after that, I would also argue we should give up some of the points, the dimensions that you look at other major powers on China. For instance, the first one is balance of power, balance. I often heard the point of view that China is making balance between Palestinians and Israelis, but I should say that actually there is no such kind of balance. But we have consistently saying that we support the legitimacy of Palestinians' nationhood. We are very clear. We are very clear all these years. I think there is no why we should give up our friends in the Arab world, 22 countries. Why not? Big market, also a lot of relations. Why not? Why should we give up that? It's no balance. It's no balance. When talking about Iran nuclear issue, people say that China is making balance between Iran and the United States. Is there really any balance? Iran and the United States, economically or politically? I don't think there is such a kind of balanced policy in the region. And also, talking about interest, truly that China has business interests in the Middle East, but our president are talking about concept of morality and the benefits. Why that? Many people in international politics students also say that there is no permanent friend. There is only permanent interest. But in China, I think that is wrong argument. Yes, we have interest. We seek interest. But we also value friendship, even more friendship. Okay, I will just stop here. Thank you.
التأكيد على أن الصين تقدم الصداقة ولا تهتم فقط بالمصالح الاقتصادية والاستراتيجية. الكلمة الآن للسيدة جنيفر شانغ حول المسألة السورية، حول السياسة الصينية والمسألة السورية، فلتتفضل.
Good morning, thank you. I think that as the Syrian crisis enters its 5th year, it's important to look at how China, a rising major power with global responsibilities, has been addressing this issue. So my presentation looks at when China cooperates with Western countries on Middle Eastern issues and when it does not, and looking specifically at Syria. And my research question is, why did China exercise its veto power numerous times on UN Security Council resolutions in Syria when it had rarely used its veto power before? According to my calculation, China had only used its veto power 6 times prior to the Syrian conflict since joining the UN in 1971. And why was China so firmly opposed to Western criticism in opposition to Assad when it really did not have any direct strategic interests in Syria? According to the neoliberal institutionalist literature, international institutions serve as a constraining force on China, and they raise the cost of defection and really magnify the cost to China's international reputation if China does not cooperate within the framework of international institutions. But at the same time, you have Chinese foreign policy principles that are deeply rooted regarding sovereignty, non-interference, and the avoidance of military force, even selectively for humanitarian purposes. So in my presentation, I define cooperation as the outcome of negotiations among the P5 members. And thus, Chinese cooperation is defined as accepting a negotiated outcome among these members. Given that the Security Council, the P5, is divided between the US and European countries on the one hand and Russia and China on the other, we see that China closely coordinates its policy stances with Russia. And you often see Russia being the first one to initiate either a counter-proposal to the Western proposals or taking more, just being more diplomatically active, and China is more in a supporting role to Russia. So according to this framework of cooperation as a negotiated outcome, in order to reach a compromise, I think major powers have to be willing to make concessions. From China's point of view, the Western countries need to provide reassurances that, for example, regarding Syria, that they do not want to topple Assad, even though they've said they want to. So, you know, I think that Western countries need to provide assurances to China and also incentives that minimize the cost of Chinese cooperation. So in terms of, this is pretty straightforward, how I measure Chinese cooperative versus non-cooperative behavior. An affirmative vote equals cooperation, abstention is kind of in between, but it's more cooperative than an outright veto. But it still indicates that, you know, China does not fully support this resolution. So I provide a chart of Chinese voting behavior on these UN Security Council resolutions on Syria. And I've included Libya just because I think its behavior on Libya really influenced the subsequent voting pattern on Syria. So with respect to Libya, you know, China supported the first resolution calling for arms embargo, sanctions, and referring Libya to the ICC. Next, it abstained on the no-fly zone resolution. And subsequently, China had vetoed 4 draft resolutions on Syria. The first one was more mild. It only sought to condemn the human rights violations, but had threatened sanctions if the Assad regime did not improve conditions. The second one was much more extreme. It called for Assad to step down. The third one kind of retreated and said it would, you know, threaten sanctions again if violence did not end. And the fourth one would have referred the Syrian situation to the ICC. And you can also see on the support side, you have Chinese support for 3 resolutions on Syria. One was to support or to authorize a team to monitor the ceasefire in Syria in 2012. In 2013, after the US and Russia had reached a deal to remove Syria's chemical weapons, China fully supported that. And more recently, China had supported a new transitional government, this political framework or timetable for democratic elections and a new constitution. And because China had voted in support of the first Libyan resolution and abstained on the second one, I think China really learned the cost of abstaining in Libya. And Chinese officials have said that the reason why they abstained on the no-fly zone as opposed to veto it is because there was overwhelming support from the Arab League and the African Union to take some sort of action against Gaddafi, and China said that it had seriously heeded those requests from the Arab League. However, after this resolution was used to justify the NATO airstrikes on Libya, which eventually led to the overthrow of Gaddafi. I feel like China really learned its lesson, and Chinese editorials have been very angry. So I just wanted to read you a couple. One said, "Such an outcome runs counter to the spirit of the UN Security Council Resolution 1973. The coalition should bear in mind that there are no international norms supporting the use of force against a sovereign state in the name of stopping internal violence." Another one said, "The West should not have the right to dispose of any country at all, no matter how awful this country's situation may be. Western intervention against Libya should be strictly limited. Their excessive intervention must be condemned." So following the Libya vote, China made a strategic shift towards greater diplomatic activism and willingness to use its veto power to block Western Arab efforts to condemn and punish the Assad regime's crackdown in Libya. I'm just going to go through very quickly, I think, the draft resolutions that China did veto, just to see if, if we can glean some trends. So first, you had the US and European unions pretty extreme position saying that Assad must go. From the Russian and Chinese perspective, this was, in the initial, this was in the initial onset of the Syrian crisis, and they thought that more time should be given to Assad to implement reforms and to begin a political dialogue with the opposition. So in terms of the draft resolution that the US and Europeans proposed, they wanted sanctions on the Assad regime, and they called for an arms embargo. However, after Russia and China objected, Western countries dropped these calls and said, but included the threat of future sanctions if the Assad government did not halt its violence. But from the Russian and Chinese perspective, given that the Libya case was so fresh in their minds, they did not even want the mention of sanctions. So the Russian officials said that the threat of sanction would exacerbate the situation and put Syria on the path towards civil war. So you have both sides on extreme positions, and neither one was willing to compromise, which I think led to the veto. The second resolution, you had Morocco proposing a draft resolution endorsing the Arab League's plan for Assad to step down and transfer power. Given that this resolution was much tougher than the first one, which was vetoed, I think it's not surprising that China and Russia had again, exercised their veto. And I think that, they were already suspicious of Western motivations behind the first sanctions draft resolution. So when they were given this proposal that called for Assad to step down, I think that just further confirmed their suspicions that Western countries really wanted to use the UN to formalize a regime change in Syria. So there was, the Western countries did try to revise the draft. They took out what they believe was implicit and explicit references to the use of force. But I think that Russia and China still remain suspicious, and they just, vetoed that resolution. So the third one was taking a step back and not calling for Assad to step down, but imposing sanctions on Syria. So the UK had proposed non-military sanctions against Assad's government if it did not withdraw troops and heavy weapons from populated areas within 10 days. And the draft was filed under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter, which was enforced military, which could be enforced militarily. Russia had circulated its own draft, and its foreign ministry official had said that any militarily enforceable resolution, even for sanctions, was a red line. So I think that really indicates early on that Russia was poised to use its veto power, and I think China, as following in Russia's steps, was on the same path as well. The PRC ministry said that China disapproves of one-sided sanctions or pressure in the settlement of the Syrian conflict. And to just highlight the progress or lack thereof in the P5 negotiations. China's ambassador said during consultations on this draft resolution, the sponsoring countries, the Western countries, failed to show any political will of cooperation. They adopted a rigid and arrogant approach to the reasonable core concerns of the relevant countries and refused to make revisions. This is the fourth resolution. France had drafted a resolution that would have referred Syria to the ICC. And this was similar to the first Libyan resolution that China had supported that referred Gaddafi to the ICC. And China's deputy UN ambassador Wang Ming said that China has historically held reservations about referring situations to the ICC. He thought that the more urgent need was for the Syrian government opposition to agree on an immediate ceasefire and restart negotiations. And he said he wanted to maintain the unity of the Security Council by continuing these consultations instead of taking a different path by referring Syria to the ICC. He said that this ICC referral was neither conducive to building trust nor resuming the Geneva negotiations. So after these four resolutions, China finally did support an important resolution that called for a transitional government in Syria. And I think that the Russian military intervention in September really made the need for a ceasefire more important and gave momentum to this proposal. So the UN Security Council unanimously adopted this. And just looking back after 5 years, I think that China believed that it was on the right path because China had interpreted this resolution as the world powers agreeing that there's only a political solution to the Syrian crisis. And it believed that those previous proposals for sanctions, ICC referral, those were really not the best solution to solve the Syrian crisis. So from the Chinese perspective, for example, its ambassador to Syria said that, over the past 5 years, China has resolutely opposed foreign interference and attempts at regime change and spared no effort to promote a political solution to the Syrian crisis. So just to conclude, I think that in the initial years of the Syrian conflict, given China's lessons learned in Libya and just Chinese suspicion with Western motivations, that Chinese behavior was really aimed at preventing these Western countries from taking both incremental, for example, sanctions, ICC referral, maybe, it may have led to some sort of military intervention and dramatic steps such as just supporting, Assad to leave, to remove Assad from power. And thus, China and Russia were were not as flexible during the P5 negotiations and thus subordinated Western Arab opinions. And China was put its priority on its partnership with Russia to obstruct the West. And this is in contrast to Libya, where China had really heeded the opinion of the Arab League. So many times the bargaining process broke down because the two blocs were just unwilling to compromise. But as the Syrian conflict intensified, China stood more firmly behind the political settlement process. And it seems that China's position on Assad remains ambiguous because I think in the beginning of the conflict, China had preferred to see him stay for stability reasons, but later supported political transition to halt the violence. But with the rise of ISIS, there have been some discussions in Beijing that maybe a strong Syrian government is needed to fight terrorism, and that the U.S. should put aside its differences with Russia and Syria and should coordinate some sort of anti-ISIS effort with these countries. Just to recap, my presentation is that China had learned its mistakes with Libya, and it was just much more forceful in trying to oppose regime change efforts in Syria. And I think an important factor in Chinese behavior is its partnership with Russia. And Russia tended to be the senior partner, taking the lead in opposing Western proposals and offering counter proposals. And China was often one step behind Russia and shadowing Russia's move in the Security Council and supporting Russia's diplomatic initiatives. And I guess one lingering issue is, you know, because China in the past has usually abstained in instances where it opposed certain resolutions, you know, it could have just let Russia veto the resolution, and you know, China could have avoided the diplomatic cost. But I think that maybe China's willingness to use its veto may have reflected its own changing identities and interests. Thanks.
ويمكن إنه سوريا تكون مثال فعلا لفتح مناقشة حول الخيارات السياسية الصينية واللي بالمقارنة كما قالت الزميلة مع ما حصل في ليبيا. حاولت الصين في سوريا أن لا يحصل ما حصل في ليبيا. الواقع اليوم ما حصل في سوريا أسوأ بكثير، يكاد يكون كارثة إنسانية. سنناقش هذا الموضوع فيما بعد. الكلمة الآن للسيدة وانغ حول العلاقات الصينية الليبية، فلتتفضل.
So first of all, I'd like to thank the ACRPS for having me here. So obviously it's a pleasure to be here and to be able to talk to you. Also, I apologize in advance if in the ensuing talk I happen to cough, because I have been suffering from coughing since last week. So in my presentation, I will mainly talk about the bones with a little bit flesh being put on the PowerPoint slide due to time limit. So I think in order to have a better prognosis of Sino-Libyan relations in the future, we have to first have an idea of how the bilateral relations were in the past, because the future does not stand on its own. So as some of my colleagues briefly mentioned in yesterday's sessions, in the 1970s and also the 1950s and also the 1960s, the regional power dynamics indeed provide the common grounds for the linkage between China and some Arab countries, but Libya was an exception. So since the Libya's establishment as a sovereignty state through a multilateral process of planned decolonization under the auspices of the United Nations in 1951, the Kingdom of Libya had no connection with China, nor interest in approaching China or even the Chinese people in a broader sense. I think that there are two main reasons for that. So the first reason is Libya's foreign relations were regulated by Anglo-Libyan treaties that were signed respectively with Great Britain in 1953, with the United States in 1954, and France in 1955. So I just put some content of the treaties on the slide. So the second reason is the memory. The memory of the Libyans' anti-Italian colonial experience just let the king Idris a worry of involving Libya in international complications, which might expose Libya to danger once again. So then the 1969 coup d'etat overthrew the kingdom, overthrew the monarchy, and then opened up for decades the Jamahiriya regime era under the reign of Muammar Gaddafi. So unlike the predecessor, Gaddafi himself was pretty active in involving in the political affairs from the foreign affairs from the very beginning, and immediately approached China. So, for example, in the 1970s, in 1970, just 1 year or less than 1 year since Gaddafi gained the power, he sent one of his close aides, his name Abdul Salam Jalud, to Beijing with a cooperative proposal for the nuclear program. But this proposal has been immediately rejected by the Chinese side. So in the 20th century, the Sino-Libyan relations were very lukewarm. And I think the reason for that is the fundamental divergence in the two countries positioning the international context vis-à-vis issues of internal interest. So I think for China, 1979, that is the threshold. And before that year, China's foreign policy toward the Arab countries is solely driven by the security consideration and in particular Soviet expansion. So in other words, that means in that period before 1979, the Sino-Arab relations were governed by China's perception of the Arab people's attitudes towards the Soviet Union and also the degree of the their independence. And also in the same time period in the 1970s, obviously, Gaddafi, his political behavior could hardly fit Libya into China's framework of the foreign policy orientation. So quite heavily influenced by Jamal Abdel Nasser, and in particular the Pan-Arabism, which reached the heyday in 1950s and also 1960s. So Muammar Gaddafi, he very formally followed the Nasserite pursuit of the hegemony of the military. So also he established the alliance with the Soviet Union in 1975, and that also turned Moscow to be Libya's main weapon supplier. So there's no price to see that actually in 1971, he voted in favor of the UN resolution, which actually recognized the People's Republic of China as the sole legitimate representative of the Chinese people to the United Nations. But it was not until 1978 that the diplomatic relations were officially established between the two countries. So it seems that in that time period of 6 years, it seems that there's no necessity for any further connections between these two countries. And then 1979. So since 1979, and in particular in light of China's opening up policy, China focused on the internal development of the full modernizations. So very naturally that China deemed or regarded the globalization as a means, and also the security condition as a very security environment as a very necessary condition to achieve the development. So in practice, we see China developed the commercial and also trading activities with the Arab country, including Libya on one hand. On the other hand, it sought to create or generate a more stable and cooperative external environment. So as to Libya, as just mentioned briefly, for the sake of the pursuit of pan-Arab unity and also Gaddafi's other political ideologies, there are generally two main features in Gaddafi's foreign policy in that period, and that is activism and also adventurism, which could be personified as Libya's involvement with revolutionary movement and also the terrorism overseas. So now we came to the 21st century. So in 2003, the United Nations lifted sanction on Libya, and also in the same year, the Iraqi war started. So the coincidence of these two historical events actually led the Wenzhou people, and they are, the Wenzhou people actually, they are the vanguard of China's development of a private economy. So the coincidence of these two historical events let the Wenzhou people become the pioneer of China's private capital investment in Libyan market in 2003. And I think that is no more than a manifestation of the continuing expansion of the Wenzhou people's global share of the commodities during the period of China's opening up policy and also going up policy. So in practice, the Wenzhou people, they planned a Chinese commodity center, which is a model that has been demonstrated to be very successful in several other markets, such as Douala. In 1999, that is the capital of Cameroon, and also Rotterdam in 2003, and also Dubai Rotterdam in 2002, and also Dubai in 2003. So The CEO of Chinese Commodity Center at that time in 2003, he was also the director of Wenzhou Chamber of Commerce in Dubai. So he made his first visit to Libya in 2003. And then after that, quite soon, just in November 2004, his company, the Chinese Commodity Center Company, signed an assignment with Libya's Ministry of Economy and Trade over the establishment of a similar model, the Chinese Commodity Center in Tripoli. And that was at the end of 2004. And then just 2 years later, or less than 2 years, in 2006, a 7-floor complex shopping mall was opened in Tripoli. And that complex witnessed a very short, just a few months of flourishing business potential, and then just suddenly disappeared almost over one night because of a fire accident. So after that fire accident, in Libyan market, that is by the end of 2006, there's almost no Chinese traders or merchants or private entrepreneurs, I would say. And then in 2006, in particular, at the end of the 2006, Libya, he initiated a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure development, which focused on the renovation and also construction in roads, hospital, school, water project, and etc. So this blueprint really attracted many foreign multinational companies to enter the Libyan market, the Libyan construction market, and including the Chinese state-owned enterprises. So the influx of Chinese state-owned enterprises started at the fall or the autumn of 2007. So they comprised the backbone or the majority of the Chinese migrant community right before the outbreak of the civil armed conflict in February 2011. So at that time, the bilateral relations were characterized of contracted project-based economic cooperation. So just as I went through just now, before the 2011 Libyan civil armed conflict, China and Libya had never been revolutionary allies, as some of the Western observers remarked. And also there was no such a common ground to build such a strategic or ideological alliance. Mainland China had no presence of any form in Libya until 1968. And since then, the presence were mainly based on economic cooperation, and that is quite obvious, is the contracted based construction project, and then gradually developed in particular from 2007 until 2010. Then, in coping with the Libyan crisis, China had a very impressive first response, and that is the mass evacuation of more than 35,000 Chinese nationals, which was completed successfully just within 12 days. And after that, China's ensuing political behaviors were described by some observers as extremely cautious. For example, like Brazil, Germany, Russia, and also India, China abstained on UN Resolution 1973 in March 2011, and also he didn't recognize the NTC as the legitimate representative of Libya until September the same year. So let himself to be the last UN Security Council member to do so. And also, China has insisted the leadership of the United Nation for a political settlement, while keeping a low profile on international conferences on Libyan affairs. So many observers, they receive China's failure to support the NTC, in particular during NTC's political competition with the Jamahiriya regime, as a negative decision which will definitely influence the future development of these two countries. But I think Sino-Libyan relations were fundamentally constrained by the legacy of the West, deep and historically rooted involvement in almost every aspect of Libya since its establishment as a modern sovereignty state. So, and this legacy manifests mainly as two predicaments for China. The first one is on the multilateral negotiation and conciliation table for a political settlement of Libya. There's not a great deal of space between China and Libya that could be in favor of both countries' national and regional interest. And that is, and this conclusion or this remark comes from two perspectives. First, is because of the NATO ally and also the Arab non-NATO partners there having involvement and investment, either politically, militarily, or rhetorically, in assisting the rebels to unseat Muammar Gaddafi. So I think the post-Gaddafi political business of redistributing the political powers or the political orders will definitely accompanied by the negotiation process of redistributing the economic and also political interest with those active foreign actors in overthrowing the former regime. And the second reason is many new political actors nowadays in or behind today's political, Libyan political arena, they were once in exile under the Jamahiriya regime, and mostly in Europe or the United States. So I think the Western imprint on those people greatly influenced the formation and also the orientation of their view of where Libya's national interest lies in and how Libya's national interest connected. Yeah, just one. And how the national interests were connected in a broader regional context. So the second predicament for China is there is, for China, there's China's alternative of cooperation to participate on an institutional, social, or civilian level in Libya's reconstruction are very limited. So as mentioned just now, mainland China have no presence of any form until 1978. So since then, its presence has mainly based on contracted construction project. So this indicates that compared to some other countries, some Western countries, for instance, the Netherlands, China lacks the foundation or the, also the expertise, the disposal sources, and the experience, the know-how for the bilateral cooperation in the future. So that's all. Thank you.
شكرا للسيدة وانغ ولجميع الذين تحدثوا حول وشرحوا وفسروا حيثيات وآليات اتخاذ القرارات والخيارات الصينية فيما يتعلق بثورات الربيع العربي. أنا أيضا لدي تجربة يعني يمكن أن أضيفها حتى تكتمل الصورة، وربما تجربة ليست فقط مستمدة من البحث وإنما من الممارسة المباشرة. في أيار 6 ل9 2012 ذهبت على رأس وفد كرئيس للمعارضة، على رأس وفد من المجلس الوطني السوري الذي جمع أطراف المعارضة في ذلك الوقت من أجل أن نسعى لدى الخارجية الصينية، لدى المسؤولين الصين، من أجل أن نسعى لشرح القضية السورية وإظهار يعني تبيان إلى أي حد الأمر لا يتعلق فقط بصراع غربي شرقي، وأن هناك حقيقة حركة احتجاج شعبية جدية وعميقة، وإذا لم تؤخذ بعين الاعتبار من قبل الدول بما فيها الصين، الدول اللي إلى كمان موقف بمجلس الأمن، إلى عضو بمجلس الأمن، حيكون النتائج خطيرة. وكان بالنسبة لنا أنه الفيتو اللي عم يستخدم من قبل الروس ومن قبل الصين بمجلس الأمن هو تشجيع مباشر، وهذا اللي بيّن بعدين، للأسد أنه للاستمرار في رفض أي حل سياسي وحماية للنظام وحماية لسياساته اللي كانت قائمة فعلا على العنف. شرحنا للصينيين أنه وقابلنا وزير الخارجية في ذلك الوقت وطلبنا عدة أمور. أولا لا ينبغي أن يسمح للأسد أنه يستمر في قصف المدنيين، وهذا جزء أساسي، ومعاقبة المدنيين والعقوبات الجماعية هذا جزء أساسي من ميثاق الأمم المتحدة. وهذا لابد من أنه الأسد ثانيا أنه يلتزم، وكنا ذهبنا في إطار خطة أنان اللي كانت خطة الأمم المتحدة ذات النقاط الست لإيجاد حل سياسي، وكنا نريد أن ندعم في إطار دعم الحل السياسي. قلنا أيضا لا ينبغي دعم خطة أنان للحل السياسي ودفع الأسد إلى التعاون بشكل أكبر مع القوات الدولية اللي أرسلت قوات عربية للمراقبة، قوات المراقبة العربية. وكنا مستعدين وما كان عندنا أي موقف كما كانت تدعي موسكو والصين سارت وراها أنه كنا نطلب التدخل الأجنبي. نحن لم نكن نطلب أي تدخل عسكري أجنبي، وكانت تصريحاتنا واضحة بهذا الخصوص، وما زال لسه الأمور لم توصل إلى الوضع اللي وصلته فيما بعد. ألح وزير الخارجية يانغ شيء على 3 نقاط، أنه سياسة الصين مرتبطة أول شيء بحماية المواثيق الدولية، سيادة الدول لا يمكن أن يسمحوا بأنه سيادة الدول تمس. النقطة الثانية أنه هم سياستهم تنبع من رغبتهم في الحفاظ على الأمن والاستقرار الإقليمي في منطقة المشرق والمنطقة الشرق الأوسط. والنقطة الثالثة أنه هم أيضا من سياستهم الرئيسي هو الحفاظ على المصالح الجوهرية والأساسية للشعب السوري. قلنا نحن متفقون على هذه المبادئ الثلاث. المبدأ الأول، نحن نريد حماية سيادة سوريا واستقلالها ونرفض التدخل، لكن حماية المدنيين هي أيضا جزء من ميثاق الأمم المتحدة. المسؤولية في منع الإبادة الجماعية والمجازر هاي جزء من مواثيق الأمم المتحدة، وهي تتجاوز حتى موضوع السيادي. هذا الموضوع السيادي، لأنه السيادي هي مش للرئيس، مش لنظام حكم. السيادة هي للدولة، يعني للشعب اللي الدولة بتمثله. اليوم بنتساءل بعد 5 سنين، لأنه شو إلى معنى السياسة إذا ما رجعنا حاسبنا أنفسنا وشفنا إذا سياستنا نجحت ولا لا. خلينا نقول السياسة الصينية الروسية اللي ساهمت فعلا، وما كل الأخوان قالوا أنه الفيتو استخدم لأنه ضد إسقاط الأسد أو ضد تنحي الأسد أو ضد يعني إجباره على الخضوع للإرادة الدولية وتطبيق خطة السلام والتنحي، أو حتى الذهاب إلى محكمة دفع ملفه لمحكمة الجناية الدولية. اليوم شو النتائج؟ نقطة لم تكن الأمم المتحدة وميثاق الأمم المتحدة يعني في وضع فاقد للصدقية كما هو اليوم أول واحد ما بينظر للوضع السوري بيقول هو ثمرة فشل الأمم المتحدة ومجلس الأمن والمجتمع الدولي في التفاهم وإيجاد حل لقضية كانت واضح أنه ما لازم توصل للوضع اللي وصلته للكارثة. على مستوى الوضع الإقليمي، الاستقرار الإقليمي، لم يكن المشرق العربي والشرق الأوسط يعني عديم الاستقرار ومزعزع كما هو اليوم بسبب تغاضي المجلس الأمن وتغاضي الدول بما فيها الصين عن جهد النظام السوري من أجل البقاء في السلطة بأي ثمن، واستدراجه وتعاونه مع الدول الإقليمية وعلى رأس إيران لتحطيم احتجاج شعبه بدل أنه يفتح مفاوضات جدية. واليوم كل الدول تشعر مع وجود يعني سياسة إيرانية للتدخل والتخريب داخل أكثر من دولة عربية باستخدام التعبئة والحشود الطائفية، تشعر بأنه هي على يعني كف عفريت، ما في أي استقرار. نحن في مناخ شرق أوسطي مزعزع كليا. على مستوى الشعب السوري، هل ضمنت فعلا اللي قالوا انه هن بدهم يحافظوا على المصالح الرئيسيه للشعب السوري؟ هل اليوم مصالح الشعب السوري مضمونة حقيقة، ضمنت أكثر مما لو أن الصين، وهذا اللي كنا عم نطلب من الصينيين، ما كنا عم نطلب التدخل، عم نطلب منهم يضغطوا على الأسد مشان يدخل في حوار سياسي جدي. هل اليوم الوضع بسوريا أفضل من لو أن الصينيين اتخذوا مع الروس والأمريكيين قرار جماعي بفرض الحوار سياسي جدي وتغيير السلطة في سوريا؟ اليوم الشعب السوري يعني متفقين انه في اكثر من نص مليون، اليوم في كارثه بسوريا نتيجه السياسات، نص مليون على الاقل قتيل، على الاقل اكثر من 1.5 مليون جريح ومعطوب، 12 مليون مشردين، منهم 5 ملايين 4.7 اليوم لاجئين في الخيام، بنية تحتية واقتصاد مدمر كليا، 4 ملايين طفل ما عندهم مدارس، مناطق محاصرة، أكثر من 1 مليون شخص ما زال محاصر حتى اليوم. يستخدم النظام بسبب التشجيع الخارجي، يستخدم ما سماه بحصار التجويع، الجوع أو الركوع، إما أن تستسلم المناطق له أو أنه يفرض عليها الجوع. والبارحة كنت في منتدى الدوحة وسمعت الأمين العام للأمم المتحدة قال أن النظام السوري لا يزال حرفيا لا يزال يقصف المدنيين بالقنابل والبراميل المتفجرة، ولا يزال يمنع دخول الإغاثة إلى المناطق المحاصرة. من المسؤول عن ذلك؟ كيف وصل الوضع إلى هذه الكارثة؟ مستقبل الشعب السوري كله مدمر. هل تستطيع الدول الأعضاء في مجلس الأمن مثل الصين أن تقول أنه هي ما لها علاقة بالموضوع، أنه سياستها ما كانت جزء من العوامل اللي ساهمت بوصول الوضع وتدهوره إلى هذا الحال؟ شو السبب؟ كيف وصلنا لهالوضع؟ ما بيطرحوا. معقول الصينيين يقولوا ما شفنا خلال 5 سنين قنابل متفجرة والبراميل عم تنزل على رؤوس المدنيين وتخلي المدن وتخلي البلد؟ من اليوم تقريبا في شبه سياسي. شو هدف البراميل المتفجرة؟ دفع الناس للهجرة، سياسة تهجير منظم ومنهجي للسكان من سوريا وإخلاءها. نحن أمام كارثة قريبة كثير من كارثة فلسطين. بكرة حيكون عندنا مشكلة لاجئين ونقاش حول عودة اللاجئين، وحيكون عندنا مشكلة أنه تهديد دائم مثل ما إسرائيل بتهدد دائما أنه هي عندها قدرة، عندها قنبلة نووية وتستطيع أنه تبيد أي ناس بيتعرضوا لها. حيكون عندنا ناس استخدموا السلاح الكيماوي وممكن أنه يرجعوا يستخدموا أسلحة دمار شامل. كيف ما شافوا الصينيين أنه في نظام عم يستخدم ضد شعبه أسلحة كيماوية؟ كيف ما شافوا أنه في حرب إبادة جماعية خلال 5 سنين؟ وشو أي منطق للسيادة وأي منطق للحماية مواثيق الأمم المتحدة وأي معنى للحديث عن مصالح جوهرية للشعب السوري وهو عم يندبح؟ يعني شعب يذبح يوميا ودمر كل حياته ودمرت كل مستقبله. ما حدا بيحسن يقول اليوم انه ما شاف وما كان عنده معلومات وانه هاي الجريمة هو مش شريك فيها. ما بقول انه الصين هي اللي وراء هالموضوع، بالتأكيد لا، بس سياسة الصين الداعمة للأسد وحمايته بأي ثمن كان، والتعاون مع الروس في نفس الأمر ومع الإيرانيين وغض النظر عن تدخلات الإيرانيين، حولت البلد اليوم إن بده يدافعوا عن سياسي، عم يقولوا كانوا إنه احترام سيادة البلد. اليوم سوريا هي أرض مفتوحة لكل الدول اللي بتحب التدخل فيها، لكل الجيوش وكل القواعد، قواعد أمريكية وروسية وبكرة صينية وإيرانية وكل المواقع. مين المسؤول عن تفجير وتوسيع دائرة العنف والإرهاب اليوم؟ المنظمات الإرهابية ما كانت موجودة بسوريا. شو هي الخيارات السياسية اللي خلت الأوضاع توصل له؟ هذا سؤال لازم كل طرف دولي وسوري يطرحوا على نفسه. كمان السوريين مسؤولين طبعا، المعارضة مسؤولة، النظام هو المسؤول الأول عن دفع الأمور. حتى اليوم النظام يرفض أن يتحدث عن تغيير. كيف ممكن اليوم يرجعوا الصينيين والروس يأكدوا أنه ما في حل ضد الإرهاب إلا بدعم نظام القتل والإبادة الجماعية والإرهاب؟ يعني في شيء لازم ينطرح. بتصور يعني ما حدا مسؤول مننا هون عن الموضوع، بس هاي أسئلة لازم تنطرح. أنا برأيي السبب الرئيسي، مشان ما ناخذ وقت كتير، اللي خلانا ندخل بهيك كارثة هو إنه الصراع الدولي، هو النظرة الجيوبوليتيكية اللي ما بتشوف الشعوب إطلاقا. بتشوف إنه هاي سوريا بدهم ياخذوها الغربيين ونحن لن نترك الغربيين، وهذا اللي سمعنا، لن نترك، وهذا ما قالوا لافروف أيضا لنا، لن نترك الغربيين ياخذوا سوريا مننا. ما حدا شايف إنه سوريا هي مش فقط مساحة موجودة بشرق المتوسط لحتى تستخدم قواعد ومناطق نفوذ للدول الكبرى. في شعب وفي ناس بدهم يعيشوا، في أولاد بدهم يتعلموا، في هذا كله. أصل المشكلة هي التفكير، وهذا مصيبة الدول الكبرى، التفكير في إطار جيوبوليتيكي وقتل كل تفكير سياسي اجتماعي إنساني. الصين وروسيا وأمريكا في اقتصاد وفي علاقات دولية وجيوبوليتيك وفي تحدي. نحن إلنا دور بصناعة السياسة الدولية. مش مهم كيف نصنع السياسة الدولية، ومش مهم نتائج صناعتنا للسياسة، وإلا كان لازم يتساءلوا اليوم شو نتائج هالسياسة؟ هل كانت مثمرة فعلا؟ وهل هي فعلا في صالح الصين؟ أنا بقول أنه إنكار حق الشعوب هو جزء أساسي اليوم من فساد السياسة الدولية كلها. وشعور الدول الكبرى أنه هي قادرة أنه تصنع التاريخ رغم أنف الشعوب، وبدون رغم أنه رغم الحديث عن حقوق الإنسان وغير حقوق الإنسان إلى آخره. هلا أنا برأيي الحل هو المراجعة. ما بصير السياسة تضل مستمرة بدون ما تراجع تشوف نتائجها. اليوم نحن أمام التحدي نفسه. في رفض من قبل النظام بدعم من إيران، النظام السوري بقصد، عم نحكي عن الحالة السورية، في رفض أنه يفوت بمفاوضات جدية، وفي باسم الحفاظ على النظام ضد الإرهاب المتوسع أنه يمكن هلأ لازم معلش الأسد خليه يبقى ويكون هو من جديد يعيد، يعني يتأهل من جديد مشان يحسن يشكل حكم قوي. كيف ممكن للأسد أنه يستعيد يصير رئيس دولي لشعب هو شرد أكثر من نصه برا ودمر شروط حياته؟ كيف ممكن دول تفكر بهالطريقة؟ وما عاد في ولا سوري قادر أنه يحل محل الأسد. ما في ضباط وسياسيين وعلماء ومفكرين ممكن ياخذوا خلال فترة انتقالية دور يكونوا مشرفين على عملية انتقال مشان نخرج من المحنة. إما الأسد أو نحرق البلد. يعني هذا شعار كان هو شعار النظام. هل أصبح هذا هو أيضا شعار المجتمع الدولي وشعار مجلس الأمن وشعار الصين وشعار روسيا؟ الأسد أو نحرق أو نستمر في الكارثة إلى ما لا نهاية. أنا بعتقد أنه حتى من وجهة نظر المصلحة، ما بدي أحكي بالأخلاق، ما في شيء أخلاق، يعني خلينا نفصل الأخلاق عن السياسة. هل ضمنت الصين وضمنت روسيا مصالحهما في سوريا وفي المشرق عن طريق الخيارات السياسية اللي اتخذوها وإيصال الوضع للنقطة اللي وصل إليها؟ هذا هو السؤال اللي بعتقد أنه بيستحق الطرح اليوم بعد 5 سنين من محنة حقيقية ومأساة بسوريا، لكن آثارها لن تبقى سوريا، لن تبقى آثار في سوريا وحدها. اليوم آثارها في المشرق وآثارها أيضا في أوروبا عن طريق مشكلة اللاجئين والإرهاب إلى آخره. شكرا. وحنفتح المناقشة حول موضوع أنا بعتقد أنه حساس ومهم، وحتكون يعني بتأمل أنه تكون سريعة مشان نحسن نخلص كما يطلب المنظمون بأسرع وقت. سمير.
نقطتين على السريع. يعني أولا أنا أثني على ما ذكره الدكتور برهان غليون حول الأزمة السورية، وأريد أن أذكر بحقيقة أن تقاعس المجتمع الدولي عن الحل قد جعل المسألة تتحول من صراع محدود إلى كارثة دولية انعكست آثارها ليس فقط على الشعب السوري بل على المنطقة ووصلت إلى الصين. لو لم تمتد بهذا الشكل ما كان جانا مجموعة مقاتلين من الإيغور من الصين، حاليا 5000 مقاتل أو أكثر، هؤلاء سيعودون غدا إلى الصين. هذه من نتائج سياسة ترك الكارثة السورية تتدهور. النقطة الأخرى أيضا، أنا سوري طبعا وأتابع ما يجري في سوريا. من الضروري أن يكون واضحا في الذهن أن إعادة تأهيل نظام الأسد حتى لو تحقق، ويمكن أن تأتي روسيا بقوة أكبر وتحققه بدعم من إيران وحزب الله، وهذا تدخل دولي لا تراها الصين. إذا حدث هذا فهو كارثة أيضا على سوريا والمنطقة لسببين. السبب الأول أن النظام الأسد لا يستطيع أن يعيد حكم سوريا مرة ثانية، لا يملك قوات، بما معنى أنه سيضطر للاحتفاظ بقوات إيرانية وحزب الله وقوات من أفغانستان ومن باكستان وبقوات روسية، وبالتالي هذا احتلال دائم. الأمر الآخر أن هناك مجموعات كثيرة عمليا ستتحول إلى مجموعات تحت الأرض تفجر كل نقطة في سوريا كما حدث في العراق. 13 عام في العراق ولم يستطيعوا ضبضبة المشكلة. فمن الضروري أن تعلم الدول الكبرى بما فيها وخاصة روسيا لأنها هي اللاعب الرئيسي أن إعادة تأهيل الأسد هو كارثة على سوريا وعلى المنطقة للمستقبل ولأمد طويل من الزمن. شكرا.
شكرا أخ سمير. كاظم يمكن.
Thank you so much, sir. My name is Said Shafkat. I have found all presentations very informative, but I'm particularly impressed with the presentation by Ms. Jenifer. I thought it was very illuminating in terms of the way she raised this issue of, number one, cooperation among P5, and the kind of theoretical base that she really built around it, and then the research questions that you raised. So I'm curious and would like to find out from you, on one side, you know, starting from 2012, the resolutions that you identified and the statement of the ambassador, which was very strong in terms of lack of political cooperation among those who want to work around it. You know, what did really change? Did you explore this? What did really change in terms of the progression and evolution of these resolutions? Was it change in the position of the ambassadors? That really, in other words, personnel change was in any way influential in redrafting some of these resolutions? And when the redrafting eventually took place, did China really, in the 3 years or so, you found some assessment or reassessment that China began to take? Because you only alluded to China sort of accepting Russia as a senior partner and therefore kind of agreeing. So I'm interested in figuring out if you have any insights to throw in terms of personnel changes and the redrafting of the resolutions as you rightly point out. Thank you so much.
شكرا. تفضل.
الأسئلة اللي تفضلت فيها دكتور برهان أسئلة كتير مهمة. هلا في تشخيص الأزمة السورية واضحة، المشكلة كما هو عنوان الندوة في تشخيص موقف القوى العظمى وتحديدا الصين. أنت تسأل كيف تفعل ذلك في نظام قتل 500,000، كيف تقف هذا الموقف في السياسات الصينية أو الروسية أو الأمريكية. أنا أريد الإجابة منك متخصص، منك سوري، منك كيف تفعل ذلك؟ نريد تحليل. وهل القوى العربية السورية فعلت ما يجب لإفهامهم لتغيير مواقفهم؟ نحن نسأل الإجابة، إذا كان لديك إجابة كيف تفعل ذلك؟
شكرا. فضل هون.
شكرا. تفضل عبد الغني، مدير الشبكة السورية لحقوق الإنسان.
أنا آسف. هلا
أنا بأكد على اللي قاله الدكتور برهان. هلا بالنسبة لسيادة الدول، سيادة الدول مش مطلقة، يعني بتخرقها معاهدات وقوانين حقوق الإنسان، واللي يعني أقر مبدأ مسؤولية الحماية اللي قالت عنه الجمعية العامة بال2005 وحددت فيه الجرائم الأربعة اللي هي الاتروسيتي كرايمز، الجرائم ضد الإنسانية وجرائم الحرب وجرائم الإبادة الجماعية، واللي النظام السوري مارسها كلها. هلا 4 فيتو متوالية على قضية واحدة هي القضية السورية. الفيتو الرابع كان يعني بس مجرد إحالة الملف في سوريا للمحكمة الجنائية الدولية، فقط إحالة الملف بكل الأطراف، يعني النظام، المعارضة، كل اللي ارتكبوا الجرائم. والصين رفضت. يعني الصين هي مثل ما ذكرت جنيفر هي عم تتبع روسيا. أنا حضرت أغلب جلسات مجلس حقوق الإنسان، ما في أي إدانة من وقت كانت المظاهرات سلمية للجرائم اللي ارتكبها النظام، أي إدانة ولو لفظية، ولا وقت استخدم الأسلحة الكيميائية، ولا وقت طلعت صور سيزر، ما في أي إدانة على الإطلاق. آخر شيء يعني حتى الدعم الصين بموضوع اللاجئين يعني وموضوع المشردين هو لا يكاد يذكر. كيف لو بادرت الصين وساهمت بحل القضية السورية بحل عادل وديمقراطي كانت سحبت البساط من اللي عم يقولوا عنه ويتزرعوا فيه من الدول الغربية وما إلى ذلك. شكرا.
شكرا. فضل آخر بتعليق آخر، لأنه يبدو أن الوقت سبقنا.
All right, my name is Hassan Ali. I'm an economics professor, and my question is to Mr. Liyang, the first presentation, which was supposed to be about the Chinese policy toward the Arab world. And I heard you, Mr. Shayang, just throwing around the word public good all over. I think you said it about 25 times. And I am really intrigued about what is your definition of the public good. The public good, as an economist, I understand it's a national term where you produce something that will have benefit to everybody else. So you have collective consumption, you have non-excludability, everybody runs with it. Now, in your definition of the public good, this should be an international good. And as an international good, as you mentioned, security all over, you cannot produce this collective consumption. You cannot produce this pure benefit to everybody. Your decision in the political arena would have people who are hurt. So what you think of as a public good is nothing but public bad for a lot of people. How you define it, please?
طيب الآن يعني حنعطي فقط دقيقتين لكل متحدث لأنه يبدو أنه في جلسة أخرى أو عم يلحوا علينا أنه ننهي الجلسة بأسرع وقت. أعطي الكلام للمتدخلين فقط للرد على بعض الأسئلة التي وجهت إليهم. سأبدأ مباشرة من السيدة شانغ.
Thank you for your question. Because my presentation looked at 4 veto cases as opposed to a few veto cases and support cases, I think China's role has been a pretty consistent no in terms of not applying pressure or criticizing the Assad regime. This would be in contrast to, for example, China's voting behavior in the Iranian nuclear issue, where you had a distinct initial Chinese opposition to Iran sanctions, for example, and then later on during the negotiation process when the Western countries kind of watered down the sanctions against Iran, and where there was more intense bargaining between the Western countries and China and Russia on the other hand. But because I'm looking mostly at these veto resolutions, you really don't, the changes are not that clear. I think the main changes between the Libyan resolutions and the Syrian resolutions. But I think that, every time China does cast a veto, it does have costs to its international reputation. And this has made China support non-binding presidential statements that do criticize the Assad regime, but it does not go as far as taking punitive actions against Assad. So you do have China supporting resolutions that are not binding. And in the meantime, China is also increasing its diplomatic activity, trying to push for a political settlement. So on the one hand, you do have these resolutions where it did exercise its veto and maybe have hurt its relations with Arab countries, but at the same time, China is trying to remedy this by just pushing for a political settlement.
شكرا سيد شيانغ.
Thank you very much. Public goods. In economics, I just read it. In economics, a public good is a good that is both non-excludable and non-rivalrous in that individuals cannot be effectively excluded from use, and when used by one individual does not reduce availability to others. Public goods include fresh air, knowledge, public infrastructure. By that, I would like to say that when I say public security, public goods in the Middle East, I mean that China contributed to security public goods in different means. Militarily, we have a lot of military presence, soft military presence under UN framework. For instance, we have peacekeeping missions in Lebanon, in Sudan, and also patrolling battleships in the sea. And we all economically, our economic relations, our economic investments and trade relations contributed to the security of the Middle East, of Arab countries, in Iraq, in Libya, and in other countries. And also, China is a low-profile mediator. By low-profile mediating, China also promoted relations, promoted dialogue between relevant parties. I think all this contributed to build security in the Middle East. But the United States would usually define the security public goods with military intervention and the military presence. But I think it is not fair for those countries like China who contributed to the Middle East in many other ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Madame Ji Wang.
I just want to raise a very friendly reminder. I think China's presence in Libya hasn't been noticed until the outbreak of the Libyan civil armed conflict. So because of that, the Chinese enormous economic presence has received a lot of attention. And then when I refer to some of the literatures which related to the different discourses or in the different context contributing to the construction of the debates on Sino-Arab relations, I found there's a very dangerous pitfall, and that really influenced the argumentation, and that is the one-sided, overstated and quite isolated perception of the numbers. And some of the researchers, they just take the numbers or as one of the very big numbers that account for the Chinese enormous economic presence in pre-2011 Libya, and probably also the similar misunderstanding or mistreatment in other Arab cases. So I just want to brief a very quantitative evidence. So how we could treat with, for example, the around $20 billion of the total contract value that the Chinese construction companies in number they have signed with the Libyan clients. So I think we have to understand this number in comparison with other Chinese presence in other Africa or Arab countries, or China's foreign counterparts in the same Libyan construction market. For example, from 2003 until 2010, China's outward foreign direct investment, ODI, in Libya was extremely limited. So within this 7 or 8 years, it only accounted for less than 1% of China's overall ODI flow in Africa. And also, the enormous total contract value of almost $20 billion, as I just mentioned, were actually of indirect investment of labor and also service supply rather than the supply of financial capital. And also by the end of 2010, 95% of Libyan construction market was controlled or shared by Turkish company. So I think this evidence really can say something.
شكرا مدام جاي. بدي اعتذر من كل الذين طلبوا الكلام لأنه فعلا ما كان عندنا وقت، لكن أكيد حيصير في عنا فرص أخرى للنقاش. وبدي أشكر الباحثين الثلاثة اللي قدموا عروضهم، وأقول أنه طبعا لم يكن هناك إجابات على كل الأسئلة اللي طرحت، اللي طرحناها واللي طرحوها هم أنفسهم، لكن بعتقد وأتأمل أنه يكون هالشيء، يكون هذا الجلسة وهذا الاجتماع، هذا الحوار يعني مقدمة للقاءات أخرى لتعميق النقاش وتعميق الحوار مع أخواننا الصينيين. شكرا لكم، وبختم هاي الجلسة وإلى اللقاء.